Hello guys, welcome back to Beer HR. Grab your drink, pull up a chair. This is episode number 4, Employee Engagement and Retention, Why People Actually Stay. We are going to discuss 5 major points here: drivers of engagement, growth, recognition, and autonomy. Second point is psychological safety. Third point, career path clarity. Fourth point, recognition systems. Fifth point, insights from research by Gallup on engagement levels. Let's go to the point number 1, drivers of engagement, growth, recognition, and autonomy. Let me start with a simple question. Why do people really stay in a job? Is it because of salary? Sometimes. Is it because of job title? Maybe for a while, but long-term engagement? That usually comes down to three powerful drivers: growth, recognition, and autonomy. Let me tell you three short stories. A few years ago, a young engineer joined IBM. She wasn't hired because of her degree, she was hired because of her skills. Why? Because IBM shifted to a skills first model. Instead of asking, "Where did you study?" they started asking, "What can you do? And what can you learn next?" Inside the company, employees were given access to digital learning platforms, mentorship pathways, and internal mobility programs. Roles were no longer fixed boxes, they were stepping stones. What was the result? Higher internal movement, lower external hiring dependency, stronger engagement. Because when people see a future inside the company, they stop looking for one outside. Growth doesn't always mean promotion. Sometimes it means new skills, new responsibilities, new challenges. Engagement increases when employees feel they are evolving. If people feel stuck, they disengage quietly long before they resign. Let's look at the recognition. At Adobe, something interesting happened when they eliminated traditional annual reviews. They replaced them with regular check-ins. Instead of once a year evaluation anxiety, managers were encouraged to give continuous feedback and appreciation. Why does that matter? Because recognition is not about trophies, it is about visibility. Research from Gallup consistently shows that employees who feel recognized are more productive and more loyal. And recognition doesn't have to be grand. It can be public appreciation in a meeting, or a thank you note, or highlighting contributions in team updates. Recognition tells employees you matter, your work matters. Without recognition, even high performers burn out. With recognition, ordinary moments turn into motivation. Now let's talk about autonomy. During its culture transformation, Microsoft moved away from rigid hierarchies toward what they called a growth mindset culture. Managers were encouraged to empower teams instead of controlling them. Autonomy doesn't mean lack of accountability, it means a trust. When employees are trusted to make decisions, manage their time, and solve problems, something powerful happens. They feel ownership, and ownership drives engagement. Think about it. Have you ever felt more motivated when someone trusted you with a responsibility? Autonomy satisfies a deep psychological need, the need for control over our own work. Micromanagement kills engagement, trust builds it. So, growth, recognition, and autonomy aren't perks, they are psychological drivers. When companies ignore them, they see quiet quitting, disengagement, high turnover. When companies invest in them, they see innovation, loyalty, discretionary effort, and here is the key insight. Engagement is not created by HR alone, it is created by leaders. HR designs the system, leaders bring it to life. If managers don't provide growth conversations, if recognition is rare, if autonomy is replaced by control, no engagement program will fix that. So, bottom line is people don't stay because they have to. They stay because they are growing, or they are valued, or they are trusted. And when those three drivers are strong, engagement stops being a metric on a dashboard. It becomes a competitive advantage because engaged employees don't just work harder, they care more. And when people care, performance follows. Let's look at point number two, psychological safety. Let me start with a scene. Imagine you are in a meeting, you have an idea, maybe even a concern about a decision being made, but you hesitate. You think, what if this sounds stupid? What if my manager shuts it down? What if speaking up affects my reputation? So you stay quiet. Now multiply that silence across an entire organization. That is the cost of a low psychological safety. Several years ago, Google launched an internal research initiative called Project Aristotle. They wanted to answer a simple but powerful question: what makes a team high performing? They studied 180 plus teams. They analyzed personality types, skills, backgrounds, management styles, and they discovered something surprising. The most important factor wasn't talent, it wasn't seniority, it wasn't even experience, it was psychological safety. Teams performed best when members felt safe to admit mistakes, ask questions, challenge ideas, offer new suggestions without fear of embarrassment or punishment. That was a differentiator, not IQ, not resources, safety. Psychological safety is critical in industries where mistakes cost lives. In aviation, crew members are trained to challenge captains if they see risk. Why? Because silence can be deadly. Healthcare systems learned this lesson the hard way. Hospitals that created cultures where nurses could question doctors respectfully and openly saw fewer medical errors. It wasn't about hierarchy, it was about a safety to speak up. The same principle applies in business. If employers fear speaking up, problems stay hidden, and hidden problems become crises. Let's look at Microsoft. When Satya Nadella became CEO, he focused on shifting from a know-it-all culture to a learn-it-all culture. He encouraged leaders to admit when they didn't have all the answers. That is powerful. When senior leaders model vulnerability, it sends a message. It is okay not to be perfect here. That creates a space for innovation because innovation requires risk and people don't take risks in unsafe environments. Let's let's clarify something important. Psychological safety is not about being nice all the time. It is not avoiding tough feedback. It is not lowering standards. In fact, the highest performing teams combine high standards plus high psychological safety. People can debate passionately, disagree respectfully, challenge ideas directly, but they never attack the person. The difference is emotional security. You can disagree without being diminished. Now imagine the opposite environment. A manager who shuts down ideas, a leader who blames publicly, a culture where mistakes are punished instead of examined. Then what happens? Employees stop volunteering ideas, they avoid taking initiative, they protect themselves instead of improving the business. You don't just lose engagement, you lose innovation, and often top talent leaves first because high performers want environments where their voice matters. So, how do organizations build it? It starts small. Leaders who ask for input before making decisions, admit their own mistakes, thank people for challenging ideas, separate performance and feedback from personal judgment. Even something as simple as asking, what am I missing here? Can it change the dynamic of a meeting? When employees see their ideas being considered, even if not always implemented, trust grows, and with it, trust comes courage. So, bottom line is psychological safety isn't a soft concept, it is a performance multiplier. When people feel safe, they speak up sooner, solve problems faster, innovate more confidently, collaborate more openly. And in today's fast changing workplace, silence is a risk. Safety creates speed, safety creates innovation, safety creates resilience because when people don't fear failure, they focus on progress. And that is where real high performance begins. Let's look at point number three, career path clarity. Let me start with a simple scenario. Imagine two employees, both are talented, both are performing well, both like their teams, but one knows exactly what the next 3 to 5 years could look like inside the company. The other has no idea what comes next. Guess who starts updating their resume first? Most people don't leave because they hate their job. They leave because they can't see their future. That is the power of career path clarity. A few years ago, AT&T faced a massive challenge. Technology was evolving fast, roles were becoming obsolete, digital skills were in high demand. Instead of laying off thousands of employees and hiring new talent externally, AT&T invested heavily in reskilling programs. They created clear pathways. If you are in role A today, here are the skills required for role B tomorrow. They partner with universities. They offered online learning platforms. They mapped skills to future jobs. Employees didn't just hear, learn something new. They saw what skills to build, what certifications to earn, what jobs those skills unlocked. That clarity reduced fear. It increased engagement and it protected institutional knowledge. When employees see a roadmap, they commit to the journey. Now let's talk about clarity in professional services. At Deloitte, career paths are structured and transparent. From analyst to consultant, manager, senior manager, and partner, expectations are clearly defined. What skills are required? What behaviors are evaluated? What performance standards must be met? Employees don't have to guess, and guesswork is what creates anxiety. When people don't know how promotion happen, they assume politics. When criteria are unclear, engagement drops. Transparency builds the trust, trust builds motivation. Let's go back to IBM. IBM shifted toward a skills first model and invested in internal talent marketplaces. Instead of employees waiting for managers to notice them, they could apply for internal opportunities directly. That changes the mindset. The organization says your next opportunity might already be here. Internal mobility becomes visible, not hidden. And here is the key insight. Career path clarity isn't just vertical, it is lateral. Not everyone wants to become a manager. Some want to deepen technical expertise, others want cross functional experience. Modern organizations map multiple pathways, not just one ladder, because careers today are lattices, not ladders. Now imagine the opposite. An employee asks their manager, "What does growth look like for me here?" And the manager responds, "Let's see, keep doing good work." That is not a path, that is uncertainty. Uncertainty leads to a disengagement. Disengagement leads to turnover. High performers especially want direction. If they don't see it internally, they will find it externally. Career path is not about guaranteeing promotions. It is about providing clear role expectations, transparent promotion criteria, defined skill requirements, honest development conversations, and most importantly, regular career discussions. Not once a year, not during appraisal season, ongoing, because careers evolve and aspirations change. So, bottom line is when employees can visualize their future inside your company, they invest deeper energy today. Career clarity does three powerful things. Number one, it reduces anxiety. Number two, it increases effort. Number three, it builds the loyalty. People don't just want a paycheck, they want progress. And organizations that provide a visible pathway forward don't just retain talent, they grow leaders from within. Because when people can see their future, they stop searching for it elsewhere. And that is when engagement turns into commitment. Let's look at point number four of this episode, recognition systems. Let me start with a quick question. Have you ever worked incredibly hard on something, delivered results, and heard nothing? No feedback, no acknowledgement, just silence. Now imagine that happening repeatedly. Over time, effort drops, energy fades, and eventually engagement disappears. Recognition isn't about applause, it is about reinforcing value. And the most successful companies don't leave recognition to chance, they build systems around it. Let's look into Southwest Airlines. In an industry known for stress and operational pressure, Southwest became famous for something different. Its culture of appreciation. Flight attendants celebrate one another, pilots publicly recognize crew members, leaders highlight frontline employees regularly. Recognition is embedded into everyday operations, not reserved for annual awards. Why does that matter? Because when employees feel valued, they extend that energy to customers. Southwest consistently ranks high in employee engagement and customer satisfaction, and those two are not disconnected. Recognition fuels service, service fuels brand strength. That's easy. Now let's look at Google, model of the peer recognition. Google created peer-to-peer bonus systems where employees can nominate colleagues for small spot bonuses tied to company values. Notice something important here. Recognition isn't only top-down, it is horizontal. Peers recognize peers. Why is that powerful? Because your teammates see the effort others might miss. When recognition flows in multiple directions, appreciation becomes cultural, not hierarchical, and it reinforces behaviors the company wants more of. Recognition becomes strategic. Research from Gallup consistently shows that employees who receive regular recognition are more productive, more loyal, and more engaged. But here is the key: it must be meaningful. Generic praise like good job doesn't move the needle. Effective recognition answers three things: what you did, why it mattered, how it aligned with our values. Specific recognition creates connection. When Adobe eliminated annual performance reviews, they didn't eliminate accountability. They replaced the formal evaluation cycles with continuous check-ins. Managers were encouraged to give real-time appreciation and feedback. Instead of waiting 12 months to acknowledge effort, recognition became immediate. That immediacy increases motivation. When effort and appreciation are close together, the impact multiplies. Let's pause here. Recognition is not the same as rewards. Rewards are often financial. Recognition is emotional. A bonus motivates temporarily. Appreciation builds loyalty. The most effective systems combine both, but they never rely only on money because humans crave belonging more than transactions. Now imagine a company with no recognition culture. Hard work is expected. Extra effort goes unnoticed. Top performers receive the same treatment as average ones. Then what happens? High performers start asking, why should I go the extra mile? And once that question appears, engagement begins to decline. Recognition protects a discretionary effort, the effort employees choose to give beyond the minimum. You know what a strong recognition systems look like? Uh, those are like frequent, not annual, specific, not generic, inclusive, not exclusive, aligned to company values. They don't only celebrate big wins, they acknowledge collaboration, innovation, problem solving, resilience, and most importantly, they feel authentic because forced recognition feels artificial, fake. Genuine recognition feels powerful. Recognition systems are not nice to have programs. They are performance drivers. When employees feel seen, then they care more, they contribute more, they stay longer. Recognition says you are not invisible here. And in today's fast-paced workplace, that simple message can be the difference between burnout and belonging. Because at the end of the day, people don't just want to be paid, they want to be appreciated. And organizations that master recognition don't just boost morale, they unlock sustained performance. Let's look at point number five of this episode. Insights from research by Gallup on engagement levels. Let me begin with a number that should make every leader pause. According to Global Workplace studies by Gallup, only a small percentage of employees worldwide describe themselves as engaged at work. Not satisfied, not fine, engaged. That means emotionally invested, psychologically committed, willing to go above and beyond. Now think about that. If engagement is low, productivity suffers, innovation slows, customer experience weakens. But Gallup didn't stop at the numbers. They asked a deeper question. What actually drives engagement? And what they discovered reshaped how organizations think about performance. Manager effect. Gallup's research consistently shows that managers account for the majority of variance in engagement levels. Not perks, not office design, not salary, managers. Let's take the example of Google. Google conducted its own internal research called Project Oxygen to understand what makes managers effective. The finding the findings align closely with Gallup's insights. The best managers provide clear expectations, offer consistent feedback, show genuine concern for team members, support career development. When teams rated their managers highly, performance improved. The message is simple. People don't leave companies, they leave managers. Engagement lives or dies at the team level. Questions that change HR. Questions like, do I know what is expected of me at work? Do I have the materials and equipment to do my job right? In the last 7 days, have I received a recognition or praise? Does someone at work encourage my development? Notice something interesting. These questions aren't about free lunches. They are about clarity, support, and growth. Now let's look at companies that took these insights seriously. In the early 2000s, Best Buy faced serious performance challenges. Leadership began focusing heavily on employee engagement data, including frameworks influenced by Gallup style measurement. They noticed a pattern. Stores with higher engagement scores outperformed others in revenue and customer satisfaction. That correlation changed the conversation. Engagement was no longer a soft metric, it became a financial lever. Managers were trained to improve team communication, clarify expectations, and provide better feedback. As engagement rose, performance followed. The data spoke clearly. Engagement isn't emotional fluff, it is operational strategy. Gallup's research repeatedly shows that highly engaged teams experience high productivity, lower lower absent, lower turnover, higher customer loyalty, greater profitability. Let's look at Southwest Airlines. Their employee first philosophy isn't accidental. Southwest leaders understand a direct chain. Engage employees, then better customer service, then stronger brand loyalty, then higher profitability. These all are connected from engaged employees till the higher profitability. And Gallup's data supports that link across industries. Engagement is not just about moral, it is about margin. Gallup also introduced the concept of the actively disengaged employee. These are not just the neutral employees, they are emotionally disconnected and sometimes negative. What was the cost then? Lost productivity, workplace tension, reduced collaboration, and often silent cultural damage. Disengagement spreads faster than engagement. That is why measurement matters. If leaders don't track engagement, they manage blindly. Gallup's biggest insight isn't just about numbers, it is about responsibility. Engagement is not owned by HR alone, it is built daily by managers. It comes from clear expectations, ongoing conversations, meaningful recognition, development opportunities. It is about making work feel purposeful because when employees understand what they are doing, why it matters, and how they can grow, engagement becomes natural. Bottom line is engagement is measurable. engagement is manageable, and engagement is profitable. Organizations that treat it as a strategic priority outperform those that treat it as an annual survey. Because in the end, engagement isn't about happiness, it is about connection. And when employees feel connected to their work, to their manager, and to their purpose, performance stops being forced, it becomes voluntary. And that is the kind of performance that drives sustainable success. Let's conclude this episode. In this episode of Be a HR, we explore why employees truly stay, growth, recognition, autonomy, psychological safety, career clarity, and strong leadership, backed by insights from Gallup and real company examples. The message is clear: engagement starts before onboarding and is driven daily by leaders, not just HR. Thanks for listening to Bigger HR series. Thank you.